not
subject are
abnormal.
they gonna be
Subject to the
subject to
sunshine?
sunshine?
Yes, they are.
Ooh,
But they're under
the
18.
kids.
How you gonna?
But
If
it exists, sir.
if I may, Councilwoman Irvin, this is the first reading. I would ask that we move forward today and let staff go back and do some more research and come up with, and we'll come up with some of the bylaws and how Councilwoman Irvin wants to move the agenda forward. And I'll bring it back at the second one, and we'll do a full presentation in conjunction with Councilwoman Irvin to move this legislation forward for the second reading, if that's okay with the board.
I have a question. Who's going to be running this, who's going to be running and making sure this goes forward?
It would be
Pardon
under, it would be under the city manager's office. It's stated in the resolution, and there are details there.
I'm trying to pull up, can
So,
you
because
help me,
I
Natasha,
tried
pull
to
this
appoint
thing up?
someone to my youth opportunity board like 6 months ago, and it's like, I don't even know if she's been appointed. I don't know that they've had a meeting. So, again, this is part of, it's all part of checking the boards and see if they're useful. But I've got someone in high school, you know, very anxious to do it, never heard a word. And it's been since the election. So I want to know who, before we do an ordinance and make this mandatory, let's see exactly what it is, who's going to be running it. I mean, you say the manager's office. Who in the manager's office? The manager?
No, it's under the city manager. The city manager will then
No,
decide who's going to manage it.
So
This tab, but the Q.
we have staff to do that.
I will say, right off, that yes, we would, and with it being a youth council, our, management analyst, we would, I'm looking most likely, and when we did see this, looking at our management analyst be the one to work with the board. He works with one other board right now, which is the Charter Review Board. So he'll be the
Which
one that
doesn't
will be.
meet.
Well, doesn't mean, because we didn't have a quorum the
And we
last
didn't
couple of
have one
times.
for 4 years, so we, you know, that's like just doing nothing.
No, not doing nothing. We've had several meetings, and the next meeting is, I think, the next week, Wednesday. And that one is gonna be finalizing
And
some
one-
very
one
important
last-
issues that we've been working on over the last couple months.
I'm not opposing, I'm just asking some questions.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know what the responsibility of each council person is, because the previous time, there were meetings and, oh, well, you're gonna have a person that you're gonna be mentoring, and I wanna know what's gonna be required of me.
What is based on what the ordinance is written, what would be required of you is to just appoint 2 students. Now, they have to just be in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. They can be either in the public school system or the private schools, as long as they're North Miami resident. That's what is expected of you.
Just appointment, not.
Just appointment.
Not attending the meetings or the council meetings.
No.
They suppose, so who do they, so they're advising, are they advising me, or are they advising us as a board?
The same, they are going to be mimicking exactly what we do, and except that they are talking about their issues. For example, in putting this together or working with the city attorney's office, I actually contacted the Miami-Dade counties. Theirs is supervised under the juvenile department, okay? And I asked, so what are the kids talking about? One of the things that the kids are talking about climate change. So they're talking about their perspective of climate change. What else are they talking about? Food sharing. I was like, well, what do you mean by food sharing? There's a concern that some kids only have a meal. The meal that they have at school is the only meal that they have for the day. So some of the teens have decided that, you know what, let's have a sharing table. After school, whatever, because apparently the foods that are served during lunch or for school afterwards are thrown away. So they decided that they wanted to have a table so that they can have an opportunity for kids to just go ahead and take the food home that would not have, so that they can have another meal. So they will be dealing with their own issues. I've asked about issues they've done in the past, probably cyberbullying or what social media issues, whatever it is that they want to talk about. And then another thing that happened based on my research is that maybe we'll have a community leader person come, and that would be the liaisons that could arrange that and give them, have a role model to tell them about whatever it is that they'd like to know about. So this is not, I think we're making it sounds like we think it's more complicated than it is, but the youth commission, for example, meet at 3:30. So like right after school, they would meet, well, not at their appointed time. I'm suggesting here that they meet on the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and they'll just meet once a month, 3rd Tuesday of the month at 3:30. or whatever time the liaison, right after school, and they don't have to be here for long. Whoever the liaison will help them out, and then they can present at whenever it is decided to us what they've been doing. Like I said, they are sworn in, so that they understand. The whole point is for them to understand government. That's the whole point. That's one of the points.
Question,
It's a question.
Vice Mayor. Is,
Quick question, just like Councilwoman Keys, I want to get there with the resolution, but just some few, question. I know, Councilwoman Irving is getting this as an ordinance. My only scary part about this is, and I know the county, they operate totally different, is that these kids are subject to sunshine law, requirement, that they only serve for 1 year. So what happens, do they go to the Ethic Commission? Do they go to the state attorney? Do they go to jail? So I need to figure out, before we get there, what if these are kids, so, and they in high school. So if they do share something that they are, Mr. Attorney, is that something that you could research for us to find out what is the what happens if they break the law? Because that's why I would feel 100% comfortable with this as a resolution, because I understand the previous mayor did have a youth council that did operate functioning, but I think it was just an administrative thing. I don't even think it's something that we came here and voted on. But if this is coming to us as a resolution, subject to public requests, I'm assuming, that's just my thing, Mr. Attorney. If you could figure out what happened to these kids if they break the law? They get what? They go to jail, somebody said? I mean,
I,
Well, the other thing is, we have,
That's
if
it,
we,
is
if we
Jay-
make an
can,
ordinance.
what- can
Oh,
the city
sorry.
attorney answer the question?
No, he was gonna answer.
So this ordinance was modeled after the Miami-Dade County's Youth Commission. The language is almost exactly the same. This board would serve as an advisory board to the council, and any advisory board to the council, because the way sunshine laws work, any advisory board is subject to the sunshine laws. And so what happens if you break sunshine is what happens if any of us break sunshine, so.
so they'll go to jail,
but
basically.
why we
No
why
one-
are we
no one
thinking
goes
that
straight-
they
no
are
one goes
and
straight to jail
that
for violating
so if I
sunshine.
may,
Well, if you violate it,
right, if I may, that's I think the opportunity here is to teach them this at this young age of what sunshine is. So
you
know,
So if we have if we have an ordinance,
You done?
yes.
and the board doesn't work, then we have to undo an
Undo the
ordinance as
ordinance.
opposed to a resolution. Whereas we do a resolution, we try it, it's working,
doesn't work.
let's go ahead
I-
and
May-
set it in stone.
I beg of my colleagues to keep it as an ordinance. I really want this to be, I really think this is good for us, for our kids, for the city,
I think we all,
of us training future leaders. And I don't,
We
I
are.
don't want this to be a fluke.
yeah.
I want it to be, I prefer that it's an ordinance. But again, you
No.
have your right to vote on it.
No,
but
I'm
I-
totally in support of the idea. It's just, I'm just trying to get administration and the attorney to explain to me where I feel comfortable. I don't want to vote for something and then the residents started calling me, what did you just do that my kids could go to jail? Because this is serious. I understand the county does, but I would like for more research just so that we would, as far as that, yes, sir.
Through the mayor. If you've seen any of these types of boards operate, the subject matters these children are talking about tend to be mock subject
Yes.
matters and not issues of approving multi-million-dollar construction contracts, purchases of commodities and assets on behalf of the city, and issues that would get them put in jail for violating sunshine. They tend to be mock. I don't know if in drafting the second reading of the ordinance, you can kind of stipulate that no, these are mock issues. While they may be advisory to the city council, they're not necessarily. I wouldn't expect them necessarily to opine on, certain matters, if you will. I could see them dealing with, environmental issues or resiliency issues as a discussion matter, if you will, because that's kind of popular right now. Like you said, cyberbullying or issues that affect high school students. They may tell you they want more books at their school, which is not really a matter for, the city council to deal with, but it could be a discussion matter of this. The other thing I think is really the purpose, and my fraternity, or actually Jeff's and I's fraternity, have an organization that we started back in the, I think the 20s, called Guide Right Program, where we have a group called the Kappa Leaguers, and actually this board funded the local chapter's Kappa League group. And we actually, as far as procedure and being a council, we're actually just teaching them Robert's Rules of Order and civil procedure, which is really part of the purpose of having them convene in a board setting, and not really the issue of X. I was also in one of those organizations, and the biggest thing we argued about was the annual dance that we were putting on and raising money for, and not real issues that would truly affect them, but maybe perhaps putting mock, if to be an ordinance, put in there that these are mock issues and not issues for necessarily real consideration for the board going forward.
And I understand, Mr. Manager, like I said, I'm in support of the idea, but especially when you say subject to, and I think Councilwoman Irving saying trying to teach the kids how to model this, so that is a pretty good component as far as the public, it says our section 2-258, the meetings, it says youth council, which is subject to government in the sunshine and public records requirements. So if that's where, I don't know if that section needs to come off or whatever the case is. I know this is, but this is serious. And I don't think it's not about what they're voting on, it's just about that's the law. I don't think, if they see Councilwoman Keys or the mayor or Councilman Galvin and I, or even Councilman Irving and I speaking about something, it could be something not even related. Automatically, people just assume that, it's probably city-related business. When we it could be about family, about something related to that. So like you said, perhaps mocking, just making this, because I know this came in as the mayor did it under administrative rule, which is different. So I want to be in support of it, but we got to be making sure that this is serious. If we're voting for an ordinance that's going to be in the life of the city, that we're not getting future, somebody may be upset with another kid in high school and say, okay, I'm going to get you. And I'm going to write something to the whatever, to say, you talked about this, and these are kids, and we don't know. We just have to make sure that we cross all of the I's and all of that T's dotted when it comes to kids, especially subject to public and, different things. That's all. Thank you.
Councilwoman, you want to add anything?
No, I have nothing to add. I would like to just to be considered as an ordinance.
Did you open it?
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, it was always already open. But may I have a point of privilege, please? Mr. Mayor, may I allow Councilman Jacques Despinos to say a word, some words, please?
About what? About this?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Jacques Despinos, 95 Northeast 131st Street. I think the youth board, whatever you want to call it, is not that much headache in it. If you take, for example, with the Senator Wilson, the 5,000 role model, that's what I believe you want to show the kid, you use the words, you know, how to behave. They can be a role model for the student. And how the city work, you're not going to give them the responsibility. We will take them to jail because for what they say or what they do, because you don't give them that much. By the way, you take them to show them, you know, to take their responsibility. But you can check with the county. You are not the first municipality, or are you the first municipality to come with such idea? I don't think so.
No.
It's easy. Do you have to vote on it tonight? Maybe not. That's not an urgency and that's not emergency at the same time. But the idea is very good. Give you time to piggyback on other municipalities if they have it. That can be the role of the city manager to go there, reach out to his colleagues, other municipalities, know exactly you have it, how you do it. But I think it's a good idea for the kids. But too many kids are in the street, too many kids are going to high school. They don't even have an idea what's going on here. As local government, well, forget about the federal government. They should know, but they don't know anything. That's a good idea. But they need to worship.
Thank you very much. And I think the discussion now is not like we're not in favor of the idea of creating a youth council. The discussion is between a resolution and an ordinance, right? And
Right. And I guess I just feel very strongly about it being an ordinance. I do really feel that way. So I
And,
hope that you guys
thing
would
is-
consider that. Like the city,
Can I
the
make a
interim
motion
city
to
manager.
approve? We're gonna be here all night. We're not
Right.
even gonna-
And we can come with a second reading and maybe you get more comfortable,
Council,
like,
Vice Mayor, you were
yes.
going to say something before. we-
No, Mr. Attorney, is it possible you could look at Miami Gardens resolution, because I think they have a resolution. And they one of the, they run it pretty well, and I think the Florida League of Cities, so we can't compare, I don't even know what the county does, of another municipal, or another city. I guess that's the end of my time.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, that's just my, if we could see or kind of mirror.
If the concern is the government sunshine, we can, I mean, you can, again, as the deputy said, you could pass the ordinance on first reading, and we can come back with language. I mean, we can not make them an advisory board, and then that would probably get rid of the whole sunshine.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are ways to fix this, but
Okay.
I don't think anybody's intent is to send children to jail.
Okay, well, we got
Why are you so
Because
strong
it-
on ordinance opposed to resolution?
because first of all, I want it to be lasting. I want this to be, I think I would like for our city to have junior councilwoman, councilmen, so they can have a great model and go through the whole experience of coming up here. I mean,
So with the resolution, it wouldn't be permanent?
I'm not saying that the resolution, but I just really would like to have the ordinance.
Make
I
a
mean,
motion to approve.
Councilman, I have a question, a quick question, and I understand. No, if that's the intent, to do this, not, because I'm with Councilwoman Keys and with the resolution, but I understand where Councilwoman Irving is coming from. If we doing this properly, and I'm just saying, if we're gonna do this, we can't have 13 members because we don't have 13 members. So it has to be either 5 of us, and then you have, you know, we can't just say we're doing something, we want to do something. If we're mimicking the council, then perhaps, you know, we do that. If
said
it's 5,
13?
yeah, because it's the clerk, you know, because they're not municipal.
If you read it
I didn't
carefully,
read all of them.
right. So the other, for example, the clerk's appointee, the city manager's appointee,
So
the
they'll be
city attorney, they
administration?
would be non-voting members. The
So it's
voting
5?
members would be the ones that we select. I mean, if you
The
want to
10?
reduce that to 5, that's fine, but we're just talking about meeting quorum, we're talking
How
about
many are
kids.
with the county?
If I'm not mistaken, do you remember, Jeff? I want to say like 26, I think it is, and plus, because they have, remember, it's 13 of them, and they all appoint two, and then the prospective other offices get non-voting members as well.
You didn't say anything. You're gonna be
I'm sorry?
talking to her. Go ahead.
And Councilwoman, you strongly want the
The ordinance, yes, sir.
yeah, I don't know, where do I go here?
Well, you vote.
Okay, this,
Okay.
I'm
I mean-
just gonna we're gonna pass the first reading. If we feel like strongly from the National League of Cities on that youth council that, and they would comment that we, in order to help the youth, and then we will change it to a resolution at the next council, right?
Okay.
Yes, we will, my office will work with Councilwoman Irvin, review the League of
Not
Cities.
council, yeah, to review the League of
League of
Cities
Cities and Miami
other
Gardens
cities
and
and
other
to
cities,
see
how they
what's
do
the
it, and
proper.
We'll put something together to come back for second reading.
Okay,
yes.
thank you very much.
Let me just be clear, Mr. Mayor. So are we saying that we're voting to do the research to convert this into resolution? Because I'm okay with that,
No,
or?
we're voting on this, the
As
first
is?
reading, and then
Wait,
the second reading.
Wait. Yes, go ahead.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I got my answer, I'm fine, thank you.
That's what I
We
believe,
what?
right?
What is the question?
We, what I'm saying is, my office will work with, we're gonna approve first reading tonight, as is. My office will work with Councilwoman Irvin. We will review the National League of Cities and other cities as to their process and how it's adopted and how it's carried out. We will come back with Councilwoman Irvin and bring it to the dais. You guys will get the update during the briefings, when we have your briefings on what we come up with prior to the next meeting, and then we'll vote at the next meeting. It still has to have two readings, so.
Okay,
fine.
at the
Approve it
next
tonight.
one?
At the next one.
No,
it
at the
does not.
next, if you realize everyone else have been doing it to a resolution, then we will change it?
Well, we can have a resolution in place by the next one if we're gonna change it.
If we come back with a recommendation that's substantially different, then we would have to have a third reading anyway.
Okay.
If it's so substantially different from this reading
Mhm.
that it's completely changed, then we'd have to come back either
With the
as a
first
third
reading.
reading, or we'd have to come back as a resolution.
Okay. Can I get the motion again?
Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab Q. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. Vice Mayor Desilme, how do you vote?
Yes.
What'd you say, Mr.
I
Mayor?
said yes.
Oh, are you
If
voting
we
for
have
me?
to change
Don't-
it, we
don't-
will change it next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Estime Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
The item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Okay, that's been reviewed and based on the National League of Cities recommendation. Thank you. Okay. And okay, can we go to tab S, then we will come back on tab R, please, Madam Clerk?
Tab S, discussion regarding Oaks land sale. Tab S.
Is a discussion, is the, yes.
Let-
Let me use the version.
Yes, sir.
Let me, if I may, Vice Mayor, before Mr. Hellinger speaks, I'd like to, we're here, we did follow the direction of the council at the last meeting. The direction of the council was, and the manager, we decided to take a step back and do a appraisal on the value of the land. That appraisal did come in, for the Oaks property at approximately $9.5 million. That's what the appraisal came back as. As I say that, I'll turn it over to, the city manager to finish.
Just very quickly, as Deputy just put on the record, following the directive from December 10th, we got the appraisal done. The appraisal came back at $9,550,000, which is basically $986,000 an acre. We wanted to bring it back to the council for your consideration, and I guess a directive to either, proceed to closing if that is the will of the board. We asked Attorney Hellinger to come. I think he wanted to ask an indulgence of the council here at the meeting, so I'll turn it over to him.
Andrew Hellinger, 15051 Royal Oaks Lane, North Miami. I'm the receiver at the 151 at Biscayne Condominium Association. Over the last few years, the association has attempted to buy out the land lease that is affecting the ownership at each of the 373 units. We had conducted our own cash flow analysis to value the future cash stream to the city. The city had accountants do that as well. We came up with a valuation that I think the manager at the time had generally agreed with, subject to council review, of about $8.5 million. And so we went ahead and made that proposal to the city through the manager's office. At the last council meeting when this was brought up, the council members requested that a appraisal of the land itself be done, and gave some guidance to the manager that the city's rules was about 90% of land value for the city to accept and offer. So I just want to let you know that based upon the appraised value at $9,550,000, the accountants and the folks that valued the property on a cash flow basis, they came up at $8,500,000. That is right about at that 90% value. But what we would like to do is request that the council give guidance to the manager so that we can enter into a final agreement and get to a closing date. For us to get to closing, I'm going to need a ordinance or resolution from the council. I'll leave it up to our lawyers to tell us what we need, or the city's attorney. But I have to take that to our lender. We have a lender on standby to fund the sale, but I need a document that says we have a deal and the manager needs some guidance from the council. So we are requesting that you give the manager guidance on what the purchase price should be and what our next steps are to get to an agreement, and a final agreement, and then closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollinger. Mr. Mayor, go ahead. He just completed public request. I'm sorry. I know you was coming up. It's open to the public. Yes.
It's not open to the public. It's a discussion.
Oh, it's a
item.
discussion. I see,
Yeah,
Bill.
yeah,
See, Bill,
no,
you
no.
confusing me. You're
No, it's a
standing up for
discussion
everything.
item,
Yes,
man.
that is correct. I'm sorry. I take
And,
that back.
Okay. And thank you very much. And yes.
Sure, quick question for management. Are we haggling over dollars still, or is just a procedural issue you need direction on?
No, I think right now is a discussion item.
Yeah,
Then
it's-
since
But
you
that's what I'm
already did
unclear.
the survey, not the survey, the appraisal and thing like that, you're gonna continue to work with them.
We're just, well, let me characterize it this way. At that last discussion, it was asked or stated on the record about the city's code that allows for us to accept a number less than the actual appraised value. If you do that calculation, that number comes out about 9.6 million or so. So really, this was about what? 8.6. Sorry, I'm sorry. My apologies. So this was really about coming back to the board to get direction. Do you want us to pursue a transaction
That's a
under
discussion.
that?
it's
Yeah,
not-
that's what I'm saying. The discussion.
But here's where I'm confused, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I've heard 8.6 at the last meeting, I'm hearing 9.5 tonight. That's $1 million difference.
Correct.
Are we giving you direction to come back with something in the middle, or are we giving you direction to come back with 8.6 or 9.5?
No, listen, first of all, and our code said we cannot sell it for less than 90%,
Correct.
Right.
but we can sell it for 150%. That's what
well,
it is.
I
That's
mean,
what it is.
I guess commercially,
That's
yes,
meaning the
yes.
negotiation. That's when you got to go in the negotiation. We start at a number. We come up to a number. You can come up with the lowest number. Just said 90%.
90% is the floor. Yes.
That's the.
Okay. Yeah.
We cannot sell it for less than
Than that
90%.
number.
So we're
But we
giving-
always can sell it for 200%.
If that's what's
That's
agreed to.
right.
So we're
That's what
giv-
it is.
We're just giving you direction on negotiating a price and then bringing a sale
Yeah,
price back
when-
to us.
Whatever it is.
And whatever, I guess you need a resolution.
Whatever
or-
it is. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as far as haggling is concerned, and the attorney said it correctly, we did a present value analysis of the future payments. We agreed to the discount rate and came up with the previous number, which I agree, I was reasonably acceptable of those assumptions, but then you gave us the direction to actually go out and get the appraisal. The appraiser was shared with that analysis that we did. He was shared the documentation that I think all of you have reviewed from our consultant to St. Pierre, and he actually analyzed the discount rate. He basically kind of did the exact same calculation we did, but came up with some variables that affected the discount rate a bit. Actually, was more conservative. So that's why we get to that number. So that being the case, I'm just
And the other thing too,
Yeah.
we got to take in. Do we have any past due payment?
no. We verified that before we brought it back to you the last time. All the payments are up to date.
Okay, bring us bring us something so we can decide it on. Okay.
Can you, Mr. Mayor, through the mayor, I want, as far as clear direction, so.
What it is, okay, you did the appraisal.
Yes, sir.
Right? You're going to present it to them, and you're going to agree on a number and whatever it is, right? And you discuss with all council members, and after that, you come up with a final
No problem.
version that you both agree on.
No problem, sir.
Okay,
you.
be-
Okay.
because the 90%, he said, you cannot sell it for less
than
than 90%, but you can sell it for 300%. That's,
I think,
We know what our baseline is.
yeah,
You'll come back with
exactly.
something,
Come
right.
back with some numbers, okay? Thank you very much. That's when it's like we wanna negotiate. We good neighbor, but
I
we
understand,
just
sir.
gotta come up with
Thank you.
something. Thank you very much, sir. Now, and it's nice tab R, and
Tab R.
Councilwoman Marie, yes.
Tab R, discussion of allocation for the Sole Mia land sale / participation rent proceeds.
Okay.
Tab R.
Okay, so basically, I just in consideration with the deficit, consideration with other things that we'd like to do, I'd like to just discuss on how we'd like to allocate the funding that are not allocated, which is what, 10.7 mil? Is that correct? Right.
This is
So-
money from the sale
For
of
Solomia,
Solomia.
correct.
Wait,
Right. And,
let's
and,
her
and,
fin- wait. She's not done yet.
no, I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Right, so I'm just suggesting that we take a portion of it, address it towards the deficit. A portion, I have some ideas on how I'd like to allocate it, and I would
Yeah,
love for
but
us to
you
share
you're
that.
the one come up with the discussion. You got to bring what
Okay.
you want to bring on the table.
So I would like at least 4 million of it to go towards the deficit. I would like another, I want to say 2 million if possible to go towards Cagney so that we can meet our goal for Cagney Park. And I'd like some, and I can talk about the exact dollars later, some of it to go to some dollars to go towards some of our parks that need some attention. but that's the hardball of the dollars, and then I'll just
It's
leave the
10.7.
suggestion.
You're the one that come with the
Mr. Mayor,
discussion, come with
but
your
I can't do
number.
it, I'm not doing it alone, I'm doing it together. Those are my suggestions.
That's,
You
I
may
didn't-
have other
I
suggestions.
didn't bring the item. Come with everything you want to
No,
see.
I don't have everything. This is what I have right now, and I'll leave it to my colleagues to have. I don't know, my colleagues may have other suggestions as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, first
So
of all,
thank you.
let me come up with something. We know we had $8.1 million budget deficit from the previous year. And as of right now, we're still asking how much it is for this year. We don't have the number yet. That's mean we don't know yet. Secondly, we know now we are borrowing money from our enterprise fund to cover the general fund and a lot of issues. But before the sale of the land, right, we agree here that a part of that money will cover the new community center on site. And also we need $4 million to complete Cagney Park. That's mean from that 10.7 money is really, there is no money for us to do other things. The first money, you don't have to, the first part of the money is going toward a new community center.
Mr. Mayor, if you would, that, I'm not including the community money out of that. The 2 million that is not,
We're
I'm not
talking about the
assuming
$2 million.
that it's in the 10.7.
Madam,
The community center, I know that,
Which
wait,
community
wait.
you're talking about the one that associated with
Talking about
Solomia.
Solomia
Right,
Community Center.
Right, so I already know that there's a 2 million that's allocated towards that, so I'm not talking about that.
Right, but
I'm
No,
not
it's
talking
not.
about the other 2 million that's allocated for affordable housing. I'm not talking about that either. I'm sorry?
Listen, we don't have the money yet. Maybe when the money is become available, then we will discuss that. And I don't
I'm
think
okay with that. I'm okay with
I
that.
don't think it's
Yeah.
appropriate
I
that.
would just like to say something, because we are having this, and we can't discuss it amongst ourselves. So I would just like to make something that is very important to me, that I've only told management, is about 2 years ago, when Solomia exercised their option to close on the residential parcel, which was an 8 million given number. We took 3 million of that anticipated revenue and put it in our budget. We didn't receive it, and we spent the 3 million expecting that to close. We didn't. So part of the deficit we had about 2 years ago, 3 million was because we included Solomia. So absolutely, I'm 100% with you. 3 million, we've already borrowed from the kitty. We've already spent 3 million of the 8. I am very strongly want that to go back to the reserve. If you want to put another million in the reserve, I will wholeheartedly support that. The rest of it, I know
There's
will
no
be going
rest of the money.
Well, there
It's-
is, there's 6,700,000.
What's the? You have almost $15 million budget deficit. That's
Right.
we
Right.
have to struggle under the two. Guys, let's not.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying of the 10.7, absolutely 3, minimum 3 or 4 goes
It's
to
not even
reserve.
minimum tweet. First of all, the rent participation, the 10.7, need to be calculated on a timeline period. That's mean if it's money that should come 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, gotta go in the budget so we don't have the same issues than
Right.
last time.
Very good
Are you correct? And can you say that the 2.7, the rent participation?
Advance payment for rent, yes,
Yes,
sir.
this one you cannot count on that 2.7.
Yes, sir.
That's the first thing.
I have a
It could go
question.
in
Is
our
the
reserve, but
2.7
we
a
can't
part,
count it as income.
Go ahead. The first 2.7. Go ahead. What is?
is the 2.7 a part of this 10 million that we're talking about?
I believe so.
Okay.
The
Yes,
10.7.
the rent participation is out of the
Thank you for
question,
clarification.
right?
Yeah.
Now it's only $8 million left,
Correct. So
and
you get-
$3 million of that, it's budgeted already,
It's been spent.
So we're talking
right?
5
We have $5
It was
million
budgeted in
left.
one of the budget, yes.
$5 million left, and we have the community, the Solomia Community Center. Councilman Galvin,
Thank
are you done?
Yes, I'm done for now.
Okay, go
May I,
ahead.
may I make a suggestion, friendly suggestion? We have the Solomia money that's coming in at approximately 10.7 million. And soon we'll have the Oaks, bless you, the Oaks money come in at approximately 9 million. How about once we've got both of those deals closed and we know what big pot of money we're working with?
That's
we
what
allow-
it is.
We allow staff to come back then and say, okay, here's
Use
what
the
we've got,
allocation money.
and
This
here's
is what is the deficit.
and here's where we have to spend money, and then here's the chunk that's left over that you can divide up amongst other projects. Because certainly I'm supportive of Solomia Park. We've got Griffin Park.
Not even Solemia. She need $4 million for Cagney.
Right.
That's mean
there's
you
Cagney,
need to find
there's
$4 million
Solomia.
for Cagney. That's when I don't. There's no other money
So,
left
Mr.
for
Mayor,
what you're talking
I
about.
have to find it, but, so make sure that I get the credit alone,
Well,
right,
but-
Mr. Mayor?
You come with it.
'Cause
You come with
I just wanna-
$2 million
Right.
when I was discussing about getting $4 million. That's
And
when,
right now, Mr. Mayor, I don't feel like I know how much we're gonna have to work with.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna need more than 2 million for the Solomia Park.
We know
But
that.
I'll work with everybody else. I just
we-
need to have like concise understanding of
Yeah, when we have
okay with that.
everything. Thank you very much. And
Okay.
you see, Vice Mayor, I haven't said anything, and you know. Okay. Then it's what is a discussion. Now let's do public citizen forum. Oh, you wanna leave? It's citizen forum. Can you
Veron-
go ahead now? Can you say that you have to leave now, or you wanna wait?
Excuse me, I do have to step out for a few minutes. I don't want to be, you think I'm rude. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. A pattern that I'm seeing now, as I've been coming to these meetings, is money being spent before we even get it. I'm gonna refer it back to the Red Garden discussion earlier in the meeting. I appreciate Vice Mayor Desilme reiterating that Joe Celestine site is our property and we don't have to rent it, we don't have to pay for it, that people would be paying us. I'm not in agreement with paying somebody to promote an event on our site when we're paying for rent for it and building out the property for such a purpose. The Joe Celestine site, even though it wasn't off 95, it can't be seen from 95, it's still directly off 95. And because there's one-way traffic on both sides, I think it would have been easier and alleviate the problem that it's gonna cause on 7th Avenue. I haven't seen much promotion for these events that are happening, so I'm not so sure that we're gonna recoup our money this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street. Again, council, you have operated in complete, total negative, no transparency, zero transparency. This Red Garden thing came out of nowhere. All of a sudden appears Red Garden. Here it is Tuesday, we hear a presentation about Red Garden. And when is it going to be? Thursday. 2 days later. That's absolutely horrendously ridiculous what you have done. And additional, for Dr. Desime to say that he knew nothing about it, and this being in his district, is again absurd. You had no input from the community on that side, which is where it happened to be where I live, on the west side in Sunkist Grove, where this event is going to be held. I want to get a copy. I asked for, I want to get a copy of the records request for who is it that we are contracted with or to in these events. On Eventbrite, it lists 5 different parties, 5 different parties that are scheduled to take place, with fees ranging from $10 to $500. And it talks about being a cigar, having a cigar lounge, a super smoke party. What's a super smoke party? Super smoke party? DJ Nasty? Sophisticated dancers? A players club? This is outrageous and absurd. You have dishonored our community by scheduling such an event. And I am deeply offended. Being a resident of North Miami and also a resident of Sunkist Grove. You had no input from us, from the community, and you've dishonored your seats.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace in Sunkist Grove. Red Garden. I was delighted that the land was cleared, and for years and years we wanted something on that site. But when I read the advertisement that they were going to have elevated beds and liquor flowing, I know it's a party, but that's a bit much. One event is going to last until 4 a.m. in the morning. Well, the sign is already out warning the residents, and I thank the Miami Police Department about the traffic because I give them some, heads up notices. But I did contact my council person in regards to what's going on, what's coming. I too am happy about the Super Bowl, and it's a money-making event, the Super Bowl. And I do want North Miami to get a piece of the pie. But anything that's associated with Uncle Luke, I know Uncle Luke from back in the day. I don't want to date myself, but it is what it is. Nasty as you want to be. And when you have tickets the range is from $25, I think, to $500. I'm just concerned that I know everything is in place, the metal detectors, and it sort of speaks for itself when you say that most events have metal detectors now because we don't know. I've too attended these workshops where you don't know what's going to happen. But I'm hoping for the best. I would hate, we are trying to get Uptown 7th Avenue going. I don't want this to be downtown 7th Avenue on our end. I really don't. I really, really don't. I'm hoping that this thing will be pulled off. I hope we will get all the money that we invested in that and that we can move forward from this. But I really think that it was very, very, very disrespectful to have the council person in this area not to be in on this, or not to know anything about it, because I called him and I got on his back, and he kept saying, I don't know. And I'm saying, how can you not know? You're the council person. Who else can we call? So, this was I think was an oversight. But I really, really, really am sort of disappointed in this, just the idea when you say Uncle Luke, nasty as you want to be, 4 o'clock in the morning, I can just envision what's going to go on. And I'm hoping that it doesn't, but that's it.
Bob Pichon, 13005 Coronado Terrace. The event's the event. I mean, it is what it is. It could have been done better by us, but what I do believe from what I've been able to see of it, we just have a bad deal. I mean, somebody mentioned the wharf as a pop-up opportunity. They're renting that place for high 6 figures this week, and the promoter takes care of the expenses. That's how those things work. We're putting this thing on. This is the best deal in the world for the promoter. We lend him the money, we give him some money, and we share in the proceeds until we get our money back. So we give him the loan. I mean, these guys need to we need to run this like a business. If we're gonna do this this one's done. The cows are out of the barn. But going forward, somebody that understands a business needs to talk to these people when we rent this out. Because this is the Super Bowl week. Guys are making a fortune at every other venue, and I'll be interested to see how much the city of North Miami makes off of this.
A quick question, Mr. Soe. What is the cost of the Saturday event?
The Saturday event, with everything is probably right
Not the
at,
city, I'm talking about the
Total?
promoters and including
the ticket cost? Oh, the ticket costs do range from 25 to 500.
I'm talking about the
The total to put
promoters'
the
contribution to the.
I believe the total price is gonna be somewhere around almost 160, 170,000.
That's how much they spend. That's when they come up with
They're
about
gonna have to come up with
60,000,
60,000, yes.
and we come up with that. It's
Yes.
not like they come up
With nothing,
with
no, sir.
nothing. They come up with 60,000.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Wanted to extend my appreciation sort of across the board tonight to Councilwoman Mayor Estime Irwin. Thank you for bringing up the initiative with the youth. I know that through your stewardship, it's going to be a very successful program. I enjoyed what I saw a few years back under Mayor Smith Joseph, and the participants seem to enjoy it as well. To Councilwoman Carol Keyes, I appreciate you raising concern regarding metal detectors when some others were maybe belittling that. Having been a 9/11 early responder, having gone to the Oklahoma City bombing, and where numerous assassinations have taken place across the country and mass shootings, it's much more of a serious concern. And it's not whether it's in North Miami or if it's District 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's the Super Bowl. And we're creating a very soft target. And I don't want to be necessarily alarmist, but hopefully our police force will be aware of that. And I hope that there'll be enough funds so that they could secure a perimeter. What could really happen if you have metal detectors on the inside? But you get some Yahoo coming out of the Panhandle who's been inspired by Charlottesville or whatever it might be, then we'll be on the map along with the rest of them. So tents aren't going to provide a lot of protection if someone wants to come in from 100 yards, 200 yards out with something, somehow, some way. And that's what the concern is, not a little skirmish on board. And Mr. Mayor, I thank you very, very much for standing up against, or not against, but standing up for the rights of the city in respect to development and selling city property and such, that I think we're finally getting a grasp that this is, we're not slighting the people that are looking to get ownership. Bless them, let's do it, let's let them have something. Let's let them have something at market or near market value, because anything less than that is slighting the 60,000 residents of North Miami. And we really don't want to do that. We want it to be fair and equitable, and by doing this, that will be the fairest thing. I can't believe that anybody could get high-rise land for less than $1 million an acre. Where can you get that? 20 stories, 30 stories? Where can you possibly get that? As I've said before, Dean's Gold sold for $10.1 million an acre some years back. And the other thing is that this land, which we unfortunately have left concessions to these developers, which happen to be billionaire developers, we've slighted the other people of the city. That land is going to be worth something in the future because it will be an island when the rest of the city is underground. So let's consider that is a valuable piece of property for the people. Thank you.
Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. One of the things with Red Garden that didn't seem to be discussed at all this evening was parking. And I know that a small allotment of parking is there, but it just doesn't seem to be noted. And I'm sure everybody's excited for the commerce that'll be coming to the city, and hopefully people are ready to rent out their parking spaces in their yards, because I can't imagine where else people are going to be parking. So jack up the prices and take advantage if that's the only solace you have in people coming and invading your neighborhood.
Mr.
But
Mayor,
we understand the parking, but it seems like people do not even know where 7th Avenue is located, and now they worry about parking for the area. Can you tell them that the two places
yes.
that you
For the record,
went for
we've
the parking?
we worked out an agreement with Trinity Church, who have about 200 parking spaces behind their church, and we also have worked out with Javon Lumber. I think there's another 75 parking spaces there. In addition, the neighbor directly north of us, Global, which is a restaurant retail spot. They sell restaurant equipment. They have the parking in front of their building as well as the lot behind their building. So we've acquired parking for the event. Again, just to reiterate during the presentation, this is for maximum capacity build out for the site, as I did show in one of the slides. Immediately following the conclusion of the Super Bowl weekend, the large tent does leave. 3 of the tents do leave, and then that gives us, I want to say, another almost 80 parking spaces, along with the 50 parking spaces on the back end of the property. So it will be occasions moving forward, if it is the board's will, to move forward with the Red Garden, that we do maybe have a major event like this one that we're having this weekend. We will then move the planters out and then use the whole space. But on an everyday, the resident should not see any problems at all with parking on their swales when it's not major events. Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. I wasn't going to address the Red Garden issue because, as Bob Bashan said, it is what it is. You'll have to deal with whatever happens, and we'll learn from this one and we'll move forward. But for something that is based on what the acting manager said, you have about 500 parking spaces for something you're trying to sell 4,000 tickets to. So just as everybody aware that's going to be a cluster mess out there, it is what it is, and you'll learn from it. I just want to touch upon how interesting is that the Oaks, the value of the land, when you do an appraisal, came in close to $900,000 per acre, yet you all just sold Solomia land for $400,000 an acre. And boy, if they pay us a little bit faster, they're going to give us another $25,000 an acre after that. And if they close within 60 days, we get an extra $50,000 per acre. And you're getting paid over time by the billionaire company. You're not even getting your money at closing. So when the residents, and I'm included, get up here and we say we're not getting fair value, this is a perfect example of an outfit. I'm glad. I support Solomia 100%. And we really need it, and it's really going to change this community. It already has. It's already given you money to play with that you don't even have yet, and you're ready to spend it. But let's make sure we get the fair value for it going forward. Us residents who've lived here for a long time spent $30 million to save that property. And it originally was supposed to be part of a park. I'm glad what's out there now. But let's make sure we fully fund that little community center that we're going to get out of the hundreds of acres out there.
It's not going to be little.
No, okay, whatever it is. But compared to 300-acre park originally, but the beautiful community center that's planned, let's make sure we fully fund that. Let's make sure we fully fund Cagney Park because we owe it to the residents before we spend the money on anything else. We promised we would replace Cagney Park because the residents gave up the property to build first-class schools. And we saved Solomia, we saved the Inarama track for us. We turned it into a glorified shopping center and residential community. That's fine. We're going to make money out of it. But let's make sure that this community and the community center that Scott is proposing and others are proposing get built, fully funded, not piecemeal over years, and let's get Cagney Park done. I know the costs are becoming exorbitant and issues are coming up, but let's make sure we take care of that. And again, I agree with you all to wait till you have the money in your hand. Thank you.
And I understand that just, I think season form is now closed. And we are committed that Councilman Scott project will move forward. And we fully committed to achieve our goal with Cagney Park. That's when it was a $10.5 million project. We were able to secure that money. And now after the negotiation, you know, it's been 10 years since we plugged the numbers, and now with the cost of construction, we're almost at $14 million or close to. And those two projects will be the first project that's gonna be done from any money coming into the city. That's the guarantee that I can give you. The center, I think there's a need. I do understand that Solemia is in District 1, and it's fair that they be able to build a center for the citizen of the area and for the citizen of North Miami, because it's gonna help the entire city. Anywhere you live in the city, you will be able to use that facility. And look at now, when you're looking at North Miami Stadium, for example, and the Super Bowl committee gonna use it for the event. Last week, Zoe Alonzo Mourning Foundation used it instead of going all the way to Miramar on 168th Street, and they decide to come to the city of North Miami. That's when he served the entire city, and you have Madame Gugus coming in every year. That's when we build something in the city, it's for the citizen of the entire city. That's when we all committed to build that community center on Solemia site, and it's not for the people in District 1 or 2, it's for the entire residents of the city of North Miami. The same way this council committed to Cagney. Cagney is in District 3, but I won't be able to secure that money if I did not have the support of all council members. That's mean we do understand that, and we committed that any money coming in, yes, we're gonna have the money for the community center, and we're gonna build Cagney Park. After that, some money gonna go toward a deficit, and then after that, people can decide to do whatever they recommend. That's when those three things gonna be taken in consideration: Cagney Park, the center, and toward a deficit, and so and so. And now, as far as reports,